I'm Tom Rioch, promoting successful business experts, connecting people throughout the world from my podcast studio in Brazil. Joining us today from Toronto, Canada, Rana AlBasri Mouawad, brand and communication consultant, specializing in public relations, content marketing, and personal branding. So Rana, why should companies encourage employees to build their personal brands?
Well, Tom, one of the major reasons is that it will give them a competitive edge. Today, any company, anybody wants to have a nice flow of leads. They want to have those leads converted to customers and help the employees help in building that social proof. And therefore, the sales cycle, the performance, it will boost the sales performance. The sales cycles will get smaller. Of course, there are other important reasons. It will enhance the brand equity for the company. It will build trust, credibility, and it will also help in terms of recruitment, especially in this very competitive job market. So it will build the culture of the company. But I want to add something that's gonna, it's something that a lot of companies don't think about. Today, companies, when they want to talk about themselves, they have specific ways. They either advertise or they do PR, publicity, or they apply for awards and win awards, and that will, of course, boost
best
the
place
brand.
to work and those types of things.
Exactly.
Right.
But what about social proof? They get social proof from their partners, their suppliers, their customers, and most importantly, their employees. So this is a great way to enhance the company image, humanize it by having that type of social
I agree
proof.
with you, because many times we see in the mission statements of corporations, people are our main asset. But you generally don't see that. You say pictures of people and all those things, but you can't feel it.
You don't feel it,
And
exactly.
when you get into like a LinkedIn profile, for example, then you see the persons who work in that company. Many of them don't show on their individual profiles that they're even part of that organization.
That's true. And I think one of the reasons why so many companies miss this great opportunity is because in its core, it has to start from the top. If the CEO, if the founder is not out there, is not visible, why would the employees be visible and talk about the company, or even build their thought leadership so that it will impact positively on the companies they work in?
Well, that's the word back to encourage, because when I ask people, why don't you do that? Why don't you show in another form that you're part of a company? Some of them say that they're afraid that the RA, the human resource people, will think that they're just there looking for a job. So they tend not even to use their own social media for their branding, their personal branding platform.
Yes, true. And this is much more common than we think. And that is because the organization, the company, did not take responsibility in guiding the employees and encouraging them. This happens when you have very clear guidelines. These are our guidelines, and these are the company goals. So it becomes easier for the employee to align their personal brand and their personal goals with the company goals. And another thing is that it's not easy to be visible, especially online, LinkedIn, for example. So if the company does not utilize what they already have, giving trainings, creating content, kind of streamlining the content, having, for example, an internal newsletter. So it's like more topics for the employees to pick and choose, and then they can share. It becomes easier. You have to build the culture internally, and you have to make it very clear in terms of guidelines so that it becomes a safe environment for them to feel comfortable and proud to share the information.
And top down, right? If it doesn't come from the top, it doesn't get down.
No, not at all. You need a leader to showcase what it means to build that personal brand, build the personal thought leadership, and to represent the company in a certain way. So if you don't have that in front of you, it's very hard to replicate or to create from scratch. Very few employees can have that kind of personality and charisma, but in general, you need guidance.
Well, from what I see what you do then, and you're a specialist in public relations, obviously that's more geared to the corporation, to make the communication and how a corporation communicates. But then the personal branding, that's obviously to corporations, their personnel should do that. But again, it's to the person, to the individual person within any corporation, or even persons who are not in a corporation yet.
Absolutely. Anybody, I mean, your personal brand is built whether you like it or not. And in very simple terms, it's your reputation. So if you're not going to take control of the narrative, people will have an opinion about you within a company you're working in or as an individual. So it is,
or worse, they may not have an opinion because they can't find it.
Yeah, exactly. So today, not only for work purposes, but also for any kind of an advancement, whether, education or career, if you're working in a company, or even investing, you want people to invest in you, invest in your dreams. They need to know that they are partnering with a person who has some kind of market credibility or has a reputation of a certain sort that kind of supports their dream or their aspirations or their career path.
Well, and reputation, they say, it's very hard to construct and very easy to demolish.
It gets demolished in seconds, and it takes years to construct. So we have to be really careful in terms of how do we want to be perceived. And I want to be clear that it's not about faking it till you're making it, but about being intentional. Just like we are intentional, when we go a certain place, how we dress, because this is the way we want to perceive. It's the same thing. How do we talk to people?
I saw on your TikTok a presentation you made, and the word you use in that resonates is authenticity, because there's so much fake out there.
A lot of fake out there, and but I think people are starting to see through, sift through the noise with the word authenticity, because it kind of becomes tricky. And a lot of people get scared of authenticity because they think the only way for me to be authentic is to overshare. So I want to preface this with, curated authenticity. You are yourself in a certain way with your colleagues at work. You are yourself, but in a different way with your kids or with your grandparents or with the neighbors.
Or grandchildren, in my case, you have to be different.
Yeah, but you're still yourself. You know how to approach a person, communicate in a certain way, share certain details that is relevant to that person versus someone else. So you're kind of curating your authenticity based on who is in front of you, based on the audience. So this is the kind of authenticity that I'm talking about, is to be to create a connection, to have some kind of empathy, in the sense that you put yourself in someone else's shoes, so you are able to communicate where they can understand, or you're able to show up where they can understand you because you understand their background or capacity or whatever.
Very good. So Rana, how can our listeners find you?
Well, the easiest way to find me is on my website. That's ranamouawad.com, or of course LinkedIn. I'll be happy to help anybody who needs more information.
Very good. Well, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
And again, for our listeners, I'm going to spell it out. It's Rana, R-A-N-A, the middle name A-L-B-A-S-R-I, and the last name M-O-U-A-W-A-D. You'll find her, and her site is ranamouawad.com. And again, as she mentioned, on LinkedIn. Cafe Networking is brought to us by Focus MI Market Intelligence, an agricultural market research specialist in Brazil. More information at their site, focusmi.com. Talk to Tom, talk to the world. Thanks for listening. Until the next time here at Cafe and Networking Podcast.